March the 21st, 2018. Hi to everybody worldwide. We're doing everything we can for the planet. We're fighting for you. And you're fighting with me. I get that. And I thank you. The world is magic with you in it, okay? The trolls are just trolls. They're irrelevant. The future is being made, and we're leading the charge. The dinosaurs are old and forgotten, and have been resurrected for our entertainment. They're not real. Just clear the cobwebs out of your head. And don't forget to subscribe and share throughout the social networking sites if you can. It's more important now than ever. We are heading north in just several days. And we'll be gone for an extended period, up to 7 months or more. And so when people say we need nuclear power, say put your windmills on the mountains where the wind blows all the time. And that only an idiot would promote nuclear and direct them here. Even though we've been bruised and battered by YouTube, they withdrew one of their strikes and were able to post back up at Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube. We're live streaming still at the Nuclear Proctologist. And so I'm leaving for the ocean soon. And we thank everybody who's donated for these expeditions. And a special thank you today for Katie, who has done just too much already. And it breaks my heart, literally to the point of making me cry. And it's been such a tough, emotional couple of days. Probably it's a good thing. I'm just heartbroken that people have to gut up to do the job, to get the job done, for sure, is not easy. And people who are not familiar with that, before we get into the story, is we're researchers, we're boots on the ground. This depiction is of Canada. And the boat is the real boat that we took on the expeditions. And we've done the whole coast of Canada, 15,000 miles, 260 days. And we're heading back out with the new fleet of 3 boats, a sailboat and 2 Zodiacs, to get back into the shit again. That's the 3 of them there. And just 10 days or less we'll be leaving, most likely less. 100 species total count coast-wide, not in this spot, but when you added them up, you found the same species in every spot. And these are Louise Narrow's before and after authentic pictures. Pre-Fukushima, post-Fukushima. This is shocking. This is mortifying. This is terrifying. Pictures. This is accurate. This is unequivocal on top of this. We'll come back to this later. This is unequivocal because I personally went out and done the whole coastline, personally. And so there is no maybes about this conversation, okay? Put that out of your head right now, that I might have made mistakes, or I'm not qualified, or I'm not capable. Put that right out of your mind right now. This is real. And this is important. And so the story tonight has a lot of facets to it to tell. Fukushima rice to be exported to France because the Japanese ain't going to eat it. Thailand don't want it. China don't want it. Now, in excess of 865,000 cancers in 2012 in Japan. Japan's National Cancer Center says the number of patients rose by almost a million in a 1 year period. Almost a million in 1 year. Probably got nothing to do with the eating the food and the rice that's contaminated, I'm sure, or drinking the water. It's hard to imagine, but this building can kill a country, a continent, an ocean. How is that even possible? How can a building like that be allowed to exist? Is this not the very definition of terrorism by having this on our planet? You have been tricked and deceived and manipulated and coerced to have this on your planet, and you have dropped your guard, and now they're taking full advantage of that. And the contaminated food, why not grow it somewhere else? Surely there got to be something else on the planet you can grow in besides in Fukushima Prefecture, where people don't even live, and it's contaminated with the full range of isotopes. Not only that, the airborne radiation, this is this year's headline, near the Fukushima nuke plant still far, with a U, no, with an A, higher than the government max. Airborne radiation, airborne, difficult to return zones is higher than the government is allowing, and the radiation won't listen to the government and go down. It's like, no, we're staying up there. The numbers are staying up. We don't care that you're the government. The government. Man, to say I'm burnt out is an underestimate of the truth, eh? Let's get something in the background that I can... It's not going to be too much of a distraction for everybody. That is going to be seizure time. That's probably not helpful. That's not... I usually like something calm, but sometimes I'm not calm myself. Now, Japan, to put it in a perspective, these tarps are covered in 1-ton bags. Like this. So why would you grow food there? How did we ever how do we ever get to the point where growing food there and shipping it to other countries? And then people saying, no, I don't think you should grow food there, are bad people. If you say you don't think they should grow food there, the entire nuclear industry will come after you. Oh. Yeah, you can't say that. You can't say nuclear's bad, Dana. I'd kick your teeth down your throat. I'd catch you. You make no mistake about it. You tell me jack shit, punk, I'd slap you right around. You don't tell me or anybody else anything from here on out. I tell you. Capiche? Good. So the full range of the iodine, not just the 131, which, by the way, is just a tracer, means all the other isotopes are there. And for 74 years, they refused to include that part. They said, oh, we didn't find any iodine, 131. Well, what about the rest of it? There's just iodine and cesium, ain't it? If you go look at the studies, that's what they use for tracers, see? Your media should be gutted and hung out and then put into a museum for everybody to hate forever. Fukushima looks to sports to rebuild the image. New York Times had no problems coming out and complaining because people won't go to Fukushima. Why won't you trust the government? Kids are there, yeah, and on the way there they had to pass all these bags. So you're a monster for not condemning them. The author, which is unusual, by the way, Seth Berkman. This is really unusual for them to sign their name to a nuclear story. Like, I can see him like, I'm not putting my name. Dana and crew is out there hunting for people like me. See, they say there's only so much cesium so the kids can play baseball. In order to trick you and the families and use the kids as victims, as a tool to manipulate and trick you. How deceptive and deceitful and dishonest is that? How low is that? How malicious is that? How vicious is that? How unwarranted is that? All the isotopes are there. Fukushima looks to top tier sake to beat stigma. Because you wouldn't buy the rice, they turned it into sake. Oh, to beat stigma. To beat the stigma. Stigma. As if the bags weren't real. As if the pollution doesn't exist. Even their sewage is like this. And all the isotopes are not just the cesium. So we're good to go on the expeditions. We're leaving for sure. Thanks to everybody that donated, and particularly to Katie with a Y. And I just seen the donation just a few minutes before I went live, and I was like, oh my God. Should have checked this morning. I wouldn't have had such a rough day. I did sleep last night. And I tortured dreams all night, but not the kind that would bother me, but it's just, they were totally out of character. And yesterday was a changing day for me. My life had changed yesterday. I don't understand why. I don't get it. There's something significant happened yesterday. And I feel like I'm on a different planet. I truly don't feel like I'm on the same planet I've been on. The world feels different to me. And it feels lonely. I feel like I'm lost in space, per se. I'm lost. I really do. I just feel like I disconnected. I guess it's me switching off because I'm going on the ocean for 7 months. But it's a mourning. It's like you're mourning. And I think it's important that people hear that and understand that that is real. Because I'm going soon. And this is difficult times for this planet. We're going to lose the planet because of nuclear power. You don't need a nuclear bomb. I couldn't care less about. I do, don't get me wrong. I'll go after them, trust me. But a nuclear power plant is billions of nuclear bombs. It's the worst thing could ever happen to the planet. And they spent 74 years manipulating everybody and everything and every textbook and every person on the planet in an attempt to silence the truth. And now the truth is finally creeped out. If you eat a single piece of radioactive food in France, and if you're eating food from Japan, grown in the most toxic place on the planet, right alongside the bags, because this defies any kind of rationale or reality whatsoever. Why would you grow food in the Fukushima prefecture when you don't have to? Well, according to them, they're doing it to revitalize the area. They won't put their names on the author. They won't author the articles usually. It's something right off the planet. We'll get into that coming up a little tiny bit. We're going to talk about the original starting off here. What makes this so hideous down there? And we'll give you other examples of how they're trying to pump out Fukushima product. Boris Johnson swigs a can of peach juice from Fukushima. Now, they're not saying there's no radiation in the food or the drinks or the sake or the peach juice or the rice or the ice cream or anything like that. They're saying the limits are the acceptable limits that they set as a standard that they kept raising every time they have an accident. These are the most ludicrous assertions imaginable. But this is your newspapers. This is your mainstream media. This is your cable TV. This is your universities doing this to you. Every single one of them. have refused to come out and denounce it. Every single one of them have come out and said, well, it's below their standards. It is. I said, they can do that because you're not there to punch them in the mouth or kick their teeth down their throats, eh? They don't feel that threat, right? The paper quotes them and they're like, I'm a big shot university mouthpiece. You only need a single isotope in your body. Not 100 of them, which is 100 becquerels a kilogram. That's 100 isotopes pounding into your system every second, pulsing at the speed of, almost the speed of light. The man-made atomic decays, which is why they're called dirty bombs, is because when you ingest these isotopes, a single one, it's pulsing at the speed of light. Some of them are tachyon speeds faster than the speed of light. Like tritium actually pulses faster than the speed of light. So it's tachyon speeds. So it shreds DNA and chromosomes and your bone marrow. It mutates your stem cells. It eradicates your red blood cells and replaces it with white blood cells. At a certain point, you displace the oxygens with white blood cells so much as called leukemias. And some of the solutions to that is DCA, if you can get your hands on it. And DCA, you should take a little tiny peck and put it in a little tiny peck of water and put it on a cut. And if it makes you scream, you will go like, oh, wah! Ooh, that hurts. And then you're okay. Then you know you got raw DCA. And raw DCA, you're going to take like a 16th of a spoonful, a tablespoon, a little small one, 16th of it, and put it in a half a glass of water because it's caustic, but it's just a mineral. You don't need a prescription, and there's no patent on it. It's just a mineral. All it does is unplate your blood. Now, structured water from the mountains and rivers and deep wells has that same attribute where it unplates your blood. This is so important, those two little things. So DCA might not be able to get, but structured water you can. If you can't get structured water, you can change the structure of the water. You can actually buy equipment that does that for you, but you can actually do it by talking to the water, telling the water you appreciate it. And I know that sounds bizarre and to some people, but not all, certainly. But water is life. Without water, you die within 72 hours. 72 hours ago, I put the patches, 2 new patches on the Zodiac in desperation because it's deflating each day on me now. I had to solve it. And so the patches are holding. We can't find anybody to work on the Zodiac. You need a special permit to get the proper glue to do it. You have to go take courses. And so I've had to find workarounds to make that work. Okay, let's keep going. China proposes talks aimed at easing Fukushima-linked food import ban. That was actually a lie. That's just the media coming out and trying to put words in China's mouth. How arrogant. Of course, you don't put no names on those stories. Isotopes uranium. And you play ball at Fukushima. I would like to take you down and tie you onto those bags and leave you there for 48 hours and come back and ask you that question. Sit? I really would. But I'm too chicken shit to go there. If I got my hands on you, I just might do that. Americium. These are radioactive isotopes that if you found cesium, every time I show you this black picture, you're going to find that in the same bag. For Fukushima farmers, as if there was a whole bunch or something. These are people paid by the government to do this who don't know any better or are just idiots. Fukushima farmers looking for an authoritative way to shed the stigma. Yeah? Try not growing it in the most radiated place on the planet. How about that? I know. Gee, Dana. Go on, Dana. You can't say that, Dana. You'd be surprised what I could say. If I had you, I'd be pouring buckets of water down your throat, making you puke up all the people that you are paired up with. Trust me. when your sewage looks like this, on top of that, you're in a world of trouble, okay? It's time to, at some point, we're going to stop lying. At some point, we're going to start fighting for the future. Fukushima farmer looks for authoritative way to shed the stigma. Well, it's quite simple to do that. You don't grow food where there's bags like that, see? You got to be a genius like me to work that out now, Manya, so I understand the nuclear industry not understanding the difference, but there's a difference. So you're not picking up the bag because it's harmless. Isotopes Neptunian are also going to be in it. They're going to say, oh, well, the cesium limits in the food is legal, Dana. That's like, for the people to say that, you're truly a monster to even consider that as realistic. Students are honing robot skills to decommission the Fukushima plant. Students are building robots because since Chernobyl, where they went around with trucks, buses, picking up people at gunpoint, that's a fact, and brought them to Chernobyl and sent them on the roofs where the parts of the core were laying out in the open, and you had to run out and pick it up. You had 25 seconds for the first several thousand people. You had 25 seconds to go pick something up and throw it off the roof, and then they went home if they didn't die right on the spot. And then they died later, of course. You got lethal doses. They done this in Sellafield, UK, where they went out to theaters and took people out of the back rows because the nuke plant workers weren't going to go do it. They're smarter than you. And so they could have built robots since then because they knew this could happen again. They were like, no, we'll never have another accident. We don't need to build the robots. Well, you might need the robots so you can help decommission some of these places where people can't go, no, we don't need to do that. We're going to have a big accident and everybody will die. We don't need to decommission anything. These are genocide machines. This is what a nuclear power plant is. It's a genocide machine. They talk about cesium-137. I talk about 112 cesium, 113 cesium, 114 cesium, 115 cesium, 117 cesium, and all of them are pertinent. This is why they're picking up the bags. They're not picking up the bags because of cesium-137. They're picking the bags up because of all the other isotopes. By the way, for every 137, there's 100 times more strontium-90, and strontium-90 as a bone seeker will give you a cancer. He's allegedly drinking the water from the tanks. Now, the tanks is 2 sieverts an hour per liter. If he drank that, he's going to drop dead. He couldn't even hold on to it without his arms going numb right away. Fukushima to scale down radiation test on rice because apparently 50 million bags, they didn't find any rice in 50 million bags, despite the fact they're growing it right by the rice, right by the bags that have been picked up. They found it to pick in the bags, but they couldn't find it in the rice. These people, who, by the way, won't put their name to the story because in the near future, people are going to cut their throats. I suspect in the near future, every journalist out there will be found with their throat cut, gagged and tortured to find out who was paying them money to lie. That's my predictions for the future long after I'm gone. Isotopes of strontium. I think the world is going to go out and murder every academic and every journalist on the planet and on this planet in the future. Maybe not physically, but they're going to go assault them everywhere they go. Staff writer, put his name on it. EU eases curb on imports of Fukushima rice and seafood. Like, why would you grow it alongside the bags? How'd you get that evil? How'd you get that stupid? Well, the government paid for all of these people to grow it there. Now, this next little section is why you absolutely, positively, unequivocally can't eat food from Fukushima. You can't. Even if it was just all the other isotopes I was showing you. See, these bags, there's 120,000 sites we know about like this in Fukushima where they're going to have the Olympics in order to promote Fukushima as some kind of a place where you want to eat the food. Would you eat the food? Of course not. But you eat food. So if they ship it into your country, you don't know it's there, you eat it. Is that fair to murder you like that? See, they put this truck there to pretend there was a fuel pull at the top of the building, by the way. Go to my website, thenuclearproctologist.org, and you'll see pictures of the building where they leveled it. The fuel pulls are gone, folks. Now, spears of radioactive material from Fukushima reported for the first time. And this is what they look like. This is from a study on them. And the atom is ingested inside. Now, these spears are created by saltwater sulfur. So we got 6 or 7 little video clips of major institutions talking about salt water coming up right away. And I'm going to set the stage for future generations and for people that are not familiar with this before we get into the rest of the story. So all those isotopes I was showing you in black and their daughters, only one of them will get, say, ingested in that. That becomes like a little nuclear engine. And so the stories, the sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyballs is another shape that they take like that. This one here is from the actual study, and that's the study. Uranol peroxide enhances nuclear fuel corrosion in seawater. See, that doesn't give it the urgency that it actually needs. And by the way, look at the billings. So the reactor cores run up the center of the building, gone. And the reactor cores are stored in pools at the top of the building, gone. That's reactor 3. This is the mixed oxide fuel. If you're eating food from Fukushima, willing or unwilling, then you're consuming these buckyballs. And trust me, this is bad, very bad news. This is very, 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 very bad news. So I'm going to play a clip from MIT talking about the salt water. And then we're going to jump in with another headline.
At 2100 that day, evacuation to 3 kilometers radius was ordered. The following morning in Japan, pressure was released from reactor 1. This was done deliberately in order to manage the pressure in the vessel and the containment.
Now, he's talking about this was March the 14th. This is 3 days after the accident. And MIT University is doing their first presentation. They lied a lot, but we got some good tidbits.
There was a small amount of radioactive emission, and that was confirmed by TEPCO at 10 a.m. The evacuation of residents in a 10-kilometer radius was underway by 3:30 in the afternoon, and shortly after 3:30, there was a hydrogen explosion in the building of reactor 1. So when the reactors are vented, the pressure is reduced. That hydrogen, which we presume was generated by the zirconium reaction, is part of what is vented, and it seems that this built up to levels in the reactor, which when mixed with the air, led to an explosive mix, which was set off for reasons which we don't understand. There are various safety systems that should have prevented.
Now, they do understand, folks.
Prevented this from happening. They clearly did not prevent it from happening, and we've all seen the videos of that explosion. Not long after, the evacuation zone was extended to 20 kilometers radius.
So they went from 3 to 10 to 20 kilometers?
Actually, on the morning of Sunday, the main thing that happened in the official timeline was that Unit 1 was declared to be a level 4 accident. That's the level that's just one below the level of TMI. Since then, the seriousness of the accident has progressed substantially. Actually, what happened during Sunday appears to have been substantial efforts to get circulation and cooling going again, but these were insufficient, and it was decided to pump in borated seawater.
Now, he said they were trying to get circulation going again. And this is the 14th. By then it had detonated, and they knew this. Pictures had circulated, particularly MIT, one of the major institutions on the planet, didn't know these pictures existed. Please. These are nuclear experts.
To flood the primary containment.
So he's talking about the seawater, borated seawater that flood the containments. Now the helicopters couldn't go in there and drop water, by the way.
Monday at 11 a.m., so this is now on the third day, there was a hydrogen explosion of reactor 3, which we understand was a consequence, again, of a controlled vent of the hydrogen from that reactor. 11 people were reported injured. But like
everybody had been washed away or ran away.
Reactor number 1, there was apparently no breach of the containment. The containment is that region that Mujid showed you, which is intended to prevent release of radioactive material in times of accident or difficulty.
Okay, and so it already looked like that by the 14th. And I said the 14th he shot this video, that was the 15th, my mistake. And so these are despicable people. Now the peroxide formed by the seawater and melted fuel is even more likely to react with the elements in the core. Not clear exactly what kind of chemicals are released. Is this why officials ordered to halt to pumping in seawater, different than fresh water? Different. See, they knew back in the day when they were open ocean testing that the sulfur would create those peroxide buckyballs. And these, it's just disgusting how they hid this away. On March the 16th, C-SPAN reported or showed Congress interviewing the NRC.
The diesel-driven fire pumps that they're using to take seawater and put in the Fukushima primary containment. We already have diesel-driven mobile pumps on every site in the country that can be moved around the site to provide another contingency measure should we lose a cooling source. And there's countless other measures like that. It's really many contingencies that we did that assessment, the NRC.
See, you can have all the contingencies you want, but you actually couldn't get into the power plant. This is Fukushima power plant right here. The whole place was washed away. There was nothing to cool down. The buildings were actually disintegrated at that stage. And these people weren't even probably rescued till a week later. Remember the site. See, there was no way of driving to the site or getting close to the site or dealing or anything else. That's the reactor cores you see over there sitting on top of the building, by the way. That's not the top of the building. The building is actually gone. And so there's this complete disconnect from reality and then what they tell you. So how are you going to go in and connect power when 680 miles of coastline looks like this? Do you get what they done to you? Okay, this next one is Harvard University. And they're going to talk about the seawater.
Yes, please.
I'll turn it up for you.
Dr. Thompson. I'm Sven Youngman, studying with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, doing a master's in public health too. What I've learned so far is the problem with the Fukushima nuclear plant is that it is overheating and there is a lack of clean water to cool it down. So, and obviously salt water is not adequate either because in this environment of high pressure it would actually cause further explosions. Can you tell us something about possible attempts to find alternative ways of cooling down the reactors?
The use of seawater for cooling indicates that all freshwater supplies have been lost. There are large tanks on site, and the site would be connected to municipal water suppliers.
Now, folks, come on, man. There's no municipal water supplies being connected. They were all snapped apart, or they were all just dragged away. There was nothing to connect it to. On top of that, the buildings are completely 100% unequivocally annihilated, and it's lethal doses around the site. That person would have died that day. He's spraying regions, which is a binder, on fuel rods that have detonated all over the site. It's a lethal dose to go to the site. The steam coming out of the grounds is 10 sieverts an hour. 3 sieverts an hour is a lethal dose. Right? And so the apologists can't stop apologizing. Like, think about, this is the Fukushima 50. Now, if you look at the footwear and everything you see, and the way they're dressed just like the people holding the tarp. So they don't need a tarp to hide people that are already hid away. They've done that to stop you asking questions. Oh, they don't want to be asked questions. You got to respect their privacy. What are you talking about? You don't need a tarp. You can't tell who's who.
All of that has been lost, as evidenced by the use of seawater. The use of seawater will ensure that the plants cannot be used again in the future, but it also introduces complications, because if you're in a boiling situation, you'll have a lot of salt crystallization, and you'd expect after a period of time, you'd start to jam up valves and the like with salt crystals. So it's an indication of...
So what he's talking about is, if you're spraying salt water on it, all these temperatures that were there, sorry, that's not a good picture. Hang on. I got so much going on. Now, Rupert Winfield Hayes is claiming he's inside of a building that doesn't exist. We know it don't exist because he picked up 30 million bags of the building. This is the building, by the way, that is torn down before Rupert went in there. And he claims he's in there, which is ludicrous assertions.
Being in a really dire situation with very poor alternatives. I would assume that the authorities are thinking about stabilization of the site, which will be a concern, even if we're lucky and no big release occurs.
Now, don't you just hate those words? Even if we're lucky and no big release occurs. It did occur. That's what it looked like that same day that he was given that presentation. He knew it looked like that. He knew it was all gone. Right? Do you get it? See, the reactor cores are stored at the top of the building. It's all gone. MIT came out and lied. They lied. They're sat there lying to you. The blast at the Fukushima Reactor 3 was like an exploding vortex ring. Ejection of nuclear fuel implies there was a criticality excursion and a steam explosion. Criticality. See, the towers are 700 feet high. The buildings are 150 feet high. Now, look at the building behind my head. That's the same size as the building that made that explosion you're looking at. Do you really think there's something left to the building that made the explosion? Do you? Really? Huh? Do you? Because there's not. And then the way the sulfur, the salt water reacted, it created this unworldly, demonic event on this planet. And they're so busy trying to bury it that we're losing the opportunity to do something good. Entire nuclear core injected into the environment. Entire nuclear core ejected into the environment. Have a look at it. What do you think? Do you think it was lobbed at it? Of course it was. These buckyballs, like all the food down there, your Geiger counter is not going to pick up the sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyball, but your body will.
If you were in charge of what must happen, and what do you mean by stabilization?
Let me answer the stabilization question first. That's keeping the cores and the spent fuel pools filled with water and keeping that water cooled for the months and years during which cleanup will require.
So he's talking about keeping pools that don't exist cool. This is Harvard University, folks. And listen to his demeanor.
And in a stable situation, you will not be relying upon skid-mounted diesel pumps and fire hoses.
There's no skid-mounted diesel pumps and fire hoses because the whole site was just 680 miles of the coastline was smoked by a tsunami. That wrecked the entire coast and up to 20 miles inland. Fukushima blast after 3/11 is awful. Awful. Number 3 reactor just blew. Steam explosion, not a hydrogen. Reactor blew up, not the reactor building. Now the buildings behind me, like one of those buildings, blew up and caused this detonation. So do you really think there's anything left? Here's another look at it. Look at it. There's nothing left, see? So we got to stop lying. Like these people that are lying to us, these are revolting creatures. They're disgusting. Just a handful of these institutions are able to influence the whole planet, and they're not fighting for its existence. I think the ship is sinking beneath them. It's crazy. There really is a credibility problem. Matthew Walls, by the way, now writes, he was with the New York Times there, and instead of going to get a nuclear expert, he brought in Matthew Walls to MIT. As if MIT don't have access to actual scientists, he brought in a mouthpiece who now works for World Nuclear News. He's an author for them, promoting nuclear. If that's not like your media is disgusting. They're disgusting. They're just unbelievable, revolting parasites, monsters.
Salt water, because that's all you have handy.
Salt water.
Additional problem, which is you're not removing heat from the salt water. You're actually boiling away the water.
So that's another guy talking about how you're boiling away the water, leaving massive salt deposits behind, saying that's going to cause problems to the reactor, when the reactors actually didn't even exist. Right? All of them trying to distract you away from the danger. All of them trying to manipulate you away from the actual issues. So the building blowing up is the same size as the building you see there. These are 190 feet high, 170 feet wide buildings. And they're saying, no, it just blew up the shell. It didn't hurt the reactors for 7 years. Unprecedented phenomenon from using salt water in the Fukushima reactors, forming new uranium compounds. New uranium compounds. None of these compounds are on any of the tables I've been showing you in 7 years. These are totally unique. These are all hot particles, and you liberate when you spray in all the salt water on a reactor. It boils away, but it's radioactive steam boiling away and now dispersed worldwide in all oceans. So the carbon buckyballs is another way, forming new uranium compounds, which I call the sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyballs, because that's what they call it in the studies. These are actual depictions, proper depictions of the building over there. So trust me, this is something we knew about a long time ago in the 50s and 60s from open ocean testing of nuclear weapons. By the way, these buildings are medusas. These are medusas. You get within a few hundred feet of that, you got a deadly dose. You stay there for a few minutes, you die right there. Most of the fallout from the plutonium-containing MOX fuel will drop on the U.S. unless very strong winds take it elsewhere. This was France's map. France, who's now going to import food from Fukushima. If France produced these maps showing the radioactive fallout in other countries, and they're going to eat food. The people in the country are going to be eating the food not knowing, not understanding what France has just done to them. Not the food they ran away and left behind, but the maniacs are growing right alongside the bags. These are true real-life goblins. So here's another one for you to remember. Hi, everybody. Because I'm going on the ocean, I won't be back for many months. I want to make sure I get some of these mathematical equations out there for everybody. So what was the equation again? They say last paragraph, last month the leak amount was put at 10 million becquerels for number 1 and number 2 reactors, and 40 million becquerels a month. Now, folks, do you understand? See, 10 million becquerels sounds like a lot, don't it? If you don't know nothing about nuclear, it does. Now, let me show you what 10 million becquerels actually really means. So a gram, something the size of the tip of your pinky, the very last digit on the very tip of your pinky, that piece right there, is way more than a gram. Okay, and so in that piece there, there's 88 times 78 billion becquerels per gram. So 6,868,000,000,000 becquerels per gram. Per gram. So when they come out with headlines saying, right, that there's 10 million becquerels a month, that means there's less than an eighth or 16th of a gram a month from buildings that don't even exist anymore, where there was 5 million pounds per building. They say less than a gram, and that's serious. So if less than a gram is serious, then what the fuck is 5 million pounds per building? I wonder? Because they're not going to tell you about that, because they've been dying for this to go down for a very long time, trust me. So radiation, they're checking planes for radiation because it's so deadly. But it's okay if you eat it in your food. Visible hot mass floated in the air and fell for hours in the same spot. Diluted versions may have reached Tokyo, trying to play it down. Tokyo was destroyed by radioactive fallout. We've seen 29 million becquerels per cubic meter in Tokyo. School playgrounds, parking lots, supermarkets. Highly significant quantity of fission products are flushed into the environment. And by the way, a lot of that evaporates right back into that area and contaminates the area again. You got to go out and pick up another 30 million one-ton bags. So each of these bags in back of a one-ton truck, each truck bumper to bumper, start going around the planet. You could go around the planet 5 times for 4 buildings. So 4 of these buildings created 5 rows of traffic around the planet of these bags. Highly significant quantity of fission products are flushed into the environment. Okay, so we got a couple of headlines to jump on. Court rejects lawsuit against construction of nuclear plant a couple of days ago. More than 1,100 residents, among others, in this one community have fought a lawsuit in 2010. They got right there, by the way, to prevent OMA, which is not true, folks. This was a recent lawsuit, The construction of the 1383 megawatt plant will use mixed oxide fuel. Mixed oxide fuel. The dirty buggers are doing this because they don't want to store it. They want to burn it into the environment. They say they got to get rid of it because they can make dirty bombs or bombs out of it. And so they agreed to burn it as fuel. But that's exactly what you're doing. You're liberating it into the environment. You can't destroy it. You can't neutralize it. And their charters for the company wasn't to liberate it into the environment, was to store it for 1 billion years. They reneged on every promise they've ever made. We're doing all we can for the started operation 2024-25 business year, the monster said. Fukushima 7 years later, case closed. These are Photoshop pictures, by the way. You can't walk there. IAEA don't walk around this place, I can assure you. These are ludicrous assertions. Charged reviewing the plant, IAEA. Leave Unit 4. These are the homeless and destitute. This is not IAEA. If it's real people, that friggin' well ain't IAEA right alongside of a melter reactor. How come they don't show us pictures like this at Chernobyl, I wonder? By the way, Chernobyl, don't get me wrong, is vicious, but it ain't nothing compared to these buildings. These buildings got reactor cores stored up, or had, at the top of the buildings. Ultimately, authorities unanimously concluded that upholding IAEA norms alone guarantees nuclear safety. These are insane idiots that work for the IAEA. These are not idiots. These are highly educated monsters that work for the IAEA. The majority of the 1,000+ hearings, 1,000+, well, because it's like a potato chip, right? Given by the people involved have remained confidential. So 1,000+ hearings, they hit them away on the nuclear meltdowns. Yeah, they got nothing to hide. This is troubling. Why would a democratic society allow hearings given to a parliamentary commission to remain secret? That's a real good question. Because you're monsters. Almost miraculously, after 4 days of desperate efforts, the worst, the explosion of the Daiichi reactors, which could have set off those at the close-by Daini and Ognagawa plants as well, was narrowly avoided. Was avoided. Really? Did somebody forget to tell the world that? It was avoided? Anybody stands there is dead by now. Most likely photoshopped. Photoshop is easy for these people. They have access to everything. And I can guarantee there's just thousands of people willing to do it for them too. The creation of special nuclear forces was what I found really interesting, such as France's nuclear rapid. So France has a force, because nuclear accidents are really bad, a rapid response force. But yet France might be importing food from the most radiated place on the planet. Does that make any sense? And why would you need a special nuclear forces in case of an accident? I thought nuclear was like a banana. And by the way, YWCA celebrates 200 weekly anti-nuclear protests in Taiwan. How cool is this story? We're just about into the heavy shit. We got a shorter night than normal night, kind of. Well, however long it takes to tell the story, that's how long it takes the story with me. I don't rush it anymore. Same as when I go on these expeditions, I won't be rushing anything. I'm going to the communities, I won't rush anything. But I can guarantee you, this time, nobody's getting away from Dana. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to confront everything in Canada I can find. So these people have been protesting every week. Every freaking week. Bless them, eh? Isn't that something awesome? Every week. They're trying to shut down the same plant every week. The weekly protest landmark event in Myeongdong District in Junggu, Seoul, Korea, South Korea, celebrated the success in arousing anti-nuclear sentiments among the citizens. The protest led to more than 100,000 people signing a crowd petition to shut down Korea Nuclear Power Plant number 1, after which the government decided in 2017 to close it permanently. How awesome. After the event, delivered a lecture how the citizenry efforts helped lead to Germany's anti-nuclear policies on top of that. So the YWCA first began its weekly anti-nuclear protest March 11, 2014, and has never missed a week. Hugs for them. And as of March the 20th, there had been protests across 33 cities because of their efforts. How amazing is that? Pretty special, you ask me. Globe's 2018 Great Fossil Fuel Phase-Out Debate. Fossil fuel. Now, the reason I threw this story in there, because they promote nuclear. Get rid of fossil fuel, which, by the way, if you don't put your coal plants in the community, you don't have any statistics for deaths from coal at all. If you put the coal way outside your cities, you don't have any statistics that make coal look bad. See, coal is natural. Your body, just like plastic is a foreign object, and coal, when it's producing these kind of things, is kind of a foreign object. Plastic and coal doesn't get in your body and pulse every second, and your body rejects the plastic and the coal. And same thing for animals and insects and everything else. And because there's so much out there, you're going to find it, but it doesn't pulse. Nuclear pulses. I'm not saying plastic is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying coal is good. I'm just saying coal is better because your body knows how to deal with it. And if you buy a coal plant, you move away, you get better. If you buy a nuclear plant, you move away, you still got to liquidate your assets because you die anyway. Once you're contaminated forever. For coal, oil, and gas, you're not. You put your windmills on a mountain where the wind blows all the time and you won't have any of those issues. Why nuclear power has fallen out of favor in recent years, thanks to the Fukushima disaster in Japan? No. Thanks. See, it wouldn't have fallen out of favor if your lies had continued, where you're out there screaming it's like a banana and pretending that the buildings are perfect inside. This is an official picture of Reactor 4 that doesn't exist, by the way. That's the official picture inside the destroyed reactor that doesn't exist. So they love lying to you. That's their whole ideology, is this industry of liars called media. Why nuclear power has fallen out of favor. So the Canadian Nuclear Laboratories, Catherine McCarthy, the vice president, suggests that nuclear power can and should play an important role in energy transition because it provides, and you know how much I hate this word, carbon-free emission loads. Like, this is ludicrous for them to ever say those words. Not only that, every time they do, I got to go out and dig up the documentation to counter their lies. So just give me a second. We're not going to do the whole shit and shebang today. I'm not. Carbon-free, they claim. See, when you call it carbon-free, it's such an easy lie to tear apart and destroy. Like, the lie is, it's so simple to beat up that lie. It's mindlessly. Anytime you're ready, Dana, hang on, I'm getting there. It's so simple to beat up that lie. Because that's what it is. It's just a lie, see? I suppose I got enough to her now. You got enough to her now, Dana? We'll just zip through this stuff. So carbon-free nuclear. Well, first off, you got 30 million one-ton bags. That can't be carbon-free, is it? How is that carbon-free? Just the bags alone, 30 million bags without nothing in them is not carbon-free. If you can read it on a Geiger counter, on a boat at ocean? Woo! Man. Wow. Carbon-free. Look at the carbon-free nuclear. Dropping the barrels right on the boats. Right on the boats. Because it's carbon-free, you know. And they only send in the homeless because it's carbon-free, Dana. Look at the carbon-free nuclear processes. All chemicals, all leached into the environment after, then dumped into the environment after that. This is your missile silos. This is why there's 6 times more breast cancer around nuclear power plants and all of these places, because it's so carbon-free, Dana. It's so carbon-free, they got to make ponds of chemicals. These are man-made chemical ponds. These are not ponds of fresh water. These are ponds of chemicals that they evaporate into the environment that contaminate thousands of miles of environment. It's so carbon-free, they got to get it off the ship before it kills everybody on the ship, and it kills everything in the ocean for 1 billion years later. It's so carbon-free, you got to dig one of these every year to run a nuclear power plant with this. You see the steel on that? Do you think that's carbon-free steel? Do you think that's carbon-free operations every day? Do you got any idea how much those tires are each? You think they're carbon-free? Running away and leaving your communities behind, that's carbon-free. And then all the chemicals and everything just to get it to the original starting point. And yet when Saskatchewan, which has an abundance of uranium, who gives a frig? Was looking to increase its power production a couple of years ago, invested close to $1 billion to upgrade a coal-fired power plant. You need a coal plant or an oil plant to run a nuclear plant, by the way. Each nuclear power plant has its own gas, oil, or coal power plant, its own power plant, so it can put out power from nuclear. So you can just get rid of the nuclear, and you already got your power plant. You don't need a nuclear power plant because you need another power plant to run it. You got any idea how big these places are? You leave every light on, and it's not from nuclear. There's no carbon-free nuclear at a power plant. It's using a coal plant next door. So the whole industry, nothing but goblins. She said 11% of the world's power currently comes from non-emitting nuclear power. Non-emitting nuclear power. Non-emitting. So you think that the people who own this shop ran away and left the shop behind because it's not emitting? Man, I know why I got 6 gag orders, because there's things I want to do to people out there that I can't say it out loud. I don't really want to physically do it. I just want to say it. But just saying it scares the monsters. The monsters are scared that you're going to find out what they're doing. See? They're monsters, 100%. It's actually more than 30% of non-emitting electricity. Non-emitting. Clean energy portfolio. Clean energy. Like, there's no disconnect. They're just outright, blatant, malicious, vicious, despicable lawyers. It's all these people, everybody in the nuclear industry are nothing but gobblish lawyers. Nothing but vicious, despicable monsters. And before we get to the next one, I got 2 more sets of headlines to get through. French ex-president Nicolas Sarkozy arrested over receiving $42 million, or francs, or that's pounds, is it, I think? In illegal campaign funds from dead Libyan dictator Gaddafi. But he stuck a stick up his butt. And then they wrecked the whole country, right? They destroyed the country. Then they went to Syria and created 7 million refugees. Remember that? Do you remember that? What they done to Syria? I got a little video here. I'll play you if I can find it. Hang on. Just a short 1-minute video. I superimpose a sound over it. This is Syria. And I put in some of the narratives from the Iraq-Afghanistan war. And the numbers I used were low ball numbers, but just get a load of this next. It was not even a minute.
The coalition averaged 1 bombing mission per minute. Allied bombing was relentless.
It was extremely demoralizing.
By the B-52s, the F-16s, the A-10s,
in bringing large amounts of munitions to bear against him.
Now, this is a city of 1 million people. To get 10,000 ISIL, this is what they done to the city. To get 10,000 bad guys, they destroyed 1 million people, ultimately 7 million.
Military. 19,000 soldiers, women and men, each year are raped in the military.
19,000 raped a year. It turns out to be 29,000 rapes a year. In the military, to get to 10,000 ISIL.
We have no argument with the people of Iraq.
We struck all day and all night.
For the innocents caught in this conflict, I pray for their safety.
And I don't know about you, but that's bullshit. Fukushima rice to be exported to France. Temporary radioactive soil storage sites hinders the Fukushima farmers. So temporary radioactive soil, see when you originally read those lines, you're like, oh, they put bags there, did they? No. They picked the bags up. And the pictures, these, I didn't modify anything. The bags are on the other side of the road. He's downhill, obviously, looking at him. See how down below the road he actually is. And so these bags all run down there. So why would you grow food here? How do we get to this position where growing food there become an option? How do you become that disgusting? And how can the media come out and claim that the farmers are being victimized? Because that's what they're doing here. They're claiming the farmers... Little zombie in the field. So, rice paddies in the foreground, which is where the bags are, serve as a temporary storage site. Serve as a temporary for piles of black plastic bags containing radioactive soil. Containing radioactive soil. So it's not me. The media is actually telling you that it's full of radioactive bags. And then they're complaining because you're saying, well, why are you growing food there and shipping it to UK and France? Rice paddies in the foreground serve as a temporary storage site for bags. And so Spider-Man and the Hulk were allegedly created from eating or being exposed to radiation, yeah? Not eating it. Spider-Man was bit by a spider and the Hulk was contaminated. And they both turned into superheroes. And these are absolute, unbelievable distortions of reality to manipulate everybody. And now, this is one of the Hollywood's biggest themes is Spider-Man and the Hulk. It has been learned. So you see this showing up so often in these stories. As soon as you see the words, it has been learned, then you know it's written by the same people. No matter which media you see it in, you know that was the same person who wrote that article and then got somebody in another media to sign their name to it, right? That's most likely somebody like Rod Adams or James Conkra or someone like that, or Forbes. Temporary radioactive soil storage site hinders Fukushima farmers. What do you mean hinders? What are you talking about farmers? Why ain't you talking about the... Like, why aren't you saying those words like, why are farmers growing right alongside the bags? How can you not say words like that?
You have failed me for the last time.
Right. So look, I don't got superpowers. I'd do that in real life. Slightly over 90% of the temporary storage sites, slightly over 90% of the storage sites lie on farm land. Farm land. You get it yet? And they're trying to ship food to UK and France and EU and Canada and everywhere else. But the bags are stored on the farmlands where the government is giving people money to go and grow food. Gobblish. Demonic. Evil. These are not words. We've got to come up with a new word to describe these people. The normal adjectives don't have any.
You have failed me for the last time.
Yeah. Local governments deprived of the very foundation for restoring farming, a key local industry. Well, you can't restore farming when 90% of your farmland is covered in bags. You demonic dummies. You demons. You creepy, disgusting weirdos. Yeah, I said that. Those areas, while farmers are concerned about possible damage caused by harmful rumors. Rumors. The media is saying, showing you pictures of the bags alongside the rice and say it's a rumor. There's no bags by the rice. That's a rumor. Of course, I'm the only person out here going to war, and so I get all the blame. I get all the gag orders. I get all the attacks. I get all the vicious assaults and threats and intimidation, which, by the way, I feed on. That's what makes me work every day. I got some doofus out there who gives me 23 thumbs down on every video. At some point, they'll run in and give me 23 thumbs down. Desperate to make it look like there's people out there who don't agree with me. How can you not agree with me? See, what I do is so unique. We've never even seen it on this planet before. Someone came out and said nuclear is bad. That's a lie. We know that's a lie. People have given their lives to fight nuclear, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, in this context, with this format, with this consistency, 1 hour shows and extended shows, not because we want to, because we got to. Nobody wants to do this. Okay, maybe a little bit. If it means getting under the industry and destroying it, if I had that success, then they can do whatever they want. I couldn't care less to me. As long as we can destroy nuclear permanently. And we don't just want to destroy nuclear, we want them held accountable. We want them all dead. We want them to go to Fukushima and perish at Fukushima. Every nuclear academic on the planet and journalist that ever said it was like a banana or a potato chip, we want them at gunpoint, picked up on buses and taken to Fukushima. We don't want them to ever leave the property. Throw them on Medusa, get rid of them. Farmers are concerned about rumors. No, there's no disconnect. Rumors. See, these are homeless and destitute and victims of society. They get in there for pictures. And this is now rumors, folks. According to the disgusting media, won't put their name on the stories anymore. The storage sites, which are leased to the ministry by local farmers, 120,000 of them, accommodate 7 million. They're saying there's actually 30 million bags, folks. Black plastic bags containing radioactive soil, grass, and branches. 7 million they are alluding and admitting to here. 7 million black bags containing radioactive. The Environment Ministry estimated 22 million cubic meters. Each of these bags are a cubic meter, 1 ton. Of contaminated soil and other waste will be generated across Fukushima Prefecture. This is where we really have a disconnect. Wait a second. You're going to pick up 22 million bags you're admitting to in the article, but you're calling it a rumor that the farms are contaminated, but yet 90% of the bags are on the farmland. Now, there's no reason to pull all your... if I had any more hair left on my head, I'd pull it out. That's why I got a bald spot there right now, is because I actually pulled it out of my head reading these stories. I know people are out there. No, you didn't, Dana. No, actually I did. I really did. Contaminated soil and other waste will be generated across Fukushima Prefecture. But we want to grow food there. Yeah, but you're going to get 22 million cubic meters across the spot. That's right. But it's a rumor that food is going to be contaminated. But you got 22 million bags sitting everywhere. 30 million, actually. Yeah. But it's a rumor. Yeah. It's a rumor that the food's contaminated. Food don't get contaminated. Everything else does, Dana, but not food. Oh, okay. Come around the corner. I got to sell you a nickel. The Fukushima Prefecture village, where evacuation orders were lifted in most areas, has been pushing restoration of farming as a key policy measure. The total size of the rice paddy in the village has dropped from 130 hectares, operated by roughly 270 households in 2010, prior to the Fukushima meltdown, to around 6 hectares operated by 11 households. So everything around them is completely contaminated, but there's 6 hectares there where they're going to grow food. And if you don't take it, you're racist. I got headlines where he said that, by the way. A 70-year-old farmer harvesting rice in his paddy, which is adjacent to another paddy that serves as a temporary storage site. No, that's a full-time storage site. You can't get it out of the ground. See, the farmers, what they're doing, they're not actually picking it up on the farms. They're mixing soil, or they're digging deeper and flipping it over. Then they call it diluting it. These people should be all taken out and shot one at a time. And there's lots of people out there be willing to pull the trigger, I can assure you. Such a disconnect in the media. The media is literally incompetent. Well, it's not incompetent. Look how it's trying to trick you. The media is your worst enemy now, for sure. The Japanese media is just despicable. It's disgusting. It's pathetic. It's a betrayal. It's sedition for its own country. The Japanese media should be prosecuted, and the buildings should be razed to the ground and turned into dumping areas for their bones. As the price of rice from the area hasn't recovered, no, local farmers are worried about prolonged reputation damage. Local farmers are shaking their heads because you're giving them money to grow food in a place where even their loved ones won't eat it. They won't even eat the rice out of the fields. Harvesting rice in his paddy, which is adjacent to another paddy, serves as a temporary storage site for piles of plastic bags containing radioactive soil, is worried about prolonged reputation damage because people are saying that there's contamination. He doesn't think there is. There's no disconnect there. This is total blatant brainwashing. This is brutal, vicious, deceptive, disgusting, pathetic brainwashing. As long as temporary storage sites remain here, so they call this a harmful rumor that people says the food is going to be contaminated, even though they're growing it right by the bags. This is media. See, you can't make that up if you wanted to. You cannot make this shit up. If Fukushima didn't happen, there's not a friggin' producer on the planet could have come up with this story. And everybody would have said, nobody's going to believe that. And they're out there constantly trying to shove it down everybody's throat. But we have done an incredible job, and we have pushed back with unbelievable amount of documentation. Hi, everybody. That broken ass. Alex. Linny. See, I have such a hard time with your name. My apologies. And I feel really bad. Watchman. Chase. Elaine is there somewhere. I just seen her. Poor Elaine, man. She got the worst job on the planet. It's a good job when everything goes good, but the trolls are viciously attacking her lately. And it's just heartbreaking. Of all the people that should be admired, like Elaine, for her dedication year after year to getting the job done, and her sacrifices, and everybody else that has sacrificed and contributed. She's been attacked. It's just unbelievable. Disgusting that anybody would attack Elaine. of all people. An absolute sweetest, most adorable person imaginable, and the trolls have to soil her name. It's disgusting. They're disgusting people, and I can never apologize enough to Elaine for what they have done. It's just, to me, it's unbelievable. I can guarantee you I will never give it up. Once you've done that you change the game for sure. You can't do that to people like that and expect that you're going to get away with it. The people who done it, I will fine you in the future. I will hold you accountable for doing that. I took screen captures. We will fine you. You made those accounts. You left a record. At some point in the future, I will find out who you fuckers were. I guarantee it. Strontium is posting blogs at his site, folks. Check him out. Hi, everybody. Just running through the zip rape down. The show's over. Just want to come and say hi to everybody. I won't get a chance to do this. Thomas, hi, everybody. Once again, extra hugs out for Katie. Oh, thank you so much for stepping up again, Katie. My goodness. Yeah, no, I hear you, Elaine, but I got to. That enrages me that somebody would attack you. You're the most honest person conceivable. Hi, Crystal. Hi, everybody. Paul, Watchman. Hi, everybody. An organic slant is out there posting all the times on Fukushima, folks. And just so happy that people are trying. So we still got to raise money. We can't depend on Katie to save us and other people. Like, everybody has to chip in. We got 7 months ahead of us, but we got enough to get started, that's for sure. We got enough. I don't have to worry about it. We can leave without, and something breaks, we can deal with it. We'll have to raise more money, but we got enough to get us started safely. And get the extra, now I can get a good GPS to take with me. And we brought the drone back because it's 1080 and I needed the money. And so now we're going to have to get the drone again. But we got to get 4K. The 1080 is no good to me. I didn't know it was a 1080 camera on that other drone. I wouldn't have got it. And we just had so many expenses and bills and everything to get at. Yesterday I figured it was better to deal with it than take a chance and wait. So we'll go back and we'll get in 5 days or 6 days when the money shows up. Hopefully, nothing else happens. And the two most important things now I got to get my hands on is the proper GPS and a drone. The drone, I don't see how we can do it without the drone. That'd be just insane to try it without the proper drone. Because the drone gives us such a good perspective, saves us so much running around and fuel and everything else, and gives us incredible pictures and videos of the whole area. Like I was doing with the zooming way in on islands far away that I can't get to. Now the drone can run over, just snap pictures. It's going to be mad. We got to do it. And so we're going to take the fleet out in about 9 or 10 days and head north. And we're going to survey the whole coast and go into all the communities. And go into all these communities. And go and get the shit kicked out of myself again. This time I got shelter. It's going to be a different trip, this trip, than that trip. This time that little Zodiac got a cabin on it and double motors on it. And I don't have to fear for my life every day anymore. And I'll have comfort every day. Because I have the big boat there, it's got the big stove, it's got all kinds of room. The bed will always be made up on top of that, ready to go. which is probably the most significant thing imaginable. And there's a ton of room on the big boat. And with all 3 boats, like what we got done is just amazing. It's incredible. It's unbelievable that we pulled this off. And really, I should wait till next year and go next year, because we pushed to get all the equipment. It just seems impossible to raise the rest of it for 7 months. Like I'm pushing too hard too soon. But we have an extinction event, and the best thing to do is get it out of the way and continue to fight in the real world on land, where, see, this is one of my biggest problems is who's going to be out there pounding the mat on the headlines every day? Who's going to be out there reminding the world we can't eat that shit from Fukushima? Who's going to be out there? Well, I think without me that people will fill the spot, and I hope and pray that's true. And I'm only going to do what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be taking any chances. I'm not going to be putting the operation in jeopardy like we did last time repeatedly. We're not going to be making sacrificial runs in desperation now. We're going to be methodical. And we're going to go into the communities, and we're going to raise awareness. We're going to stun all you people out there with how professional we are going to be. You're going to be absolutely thrilled with the work that we're going to be doing. And I'll be uploading, hopefully, videos when I go into all these little ports. We'll find the connections. We did before. We will again. And this time now, people are familiar with me. It's easy to find me now. We're more established. We have a better understanding of how to go about things now. We've learned our lessons. We've been smeared and dragged to the court systems. We've been vilified and attacked. We've stood the test of time. We stood the test of endurance and integrity and fortitude, all of us, not just me, see? That's how I see it. It's never me, even though it is, I get that part, we're on the personality, but I only exist because everybody asked for somebody to kick the shit out of this industry and to find out the truth. This is why I took the challenge, this is why I existed, this is the driving force that got me motivated, was everybody begged for someone honest, and I agreed wholeheartedly. And when I couldn't find that person, myself, to put him on a pedestal, then I became part of that myself. And I put myself into a position of great harm, relentlessly in pursuit of the facts and the truth, in order to help people come to terms and to fight for our future without the threats of being exterminated by the goblin industry. Somebody has to have a checks and balance for that industry, and we're effective. If we're actually given the same platform as the goblins, we'll win every time. If there's a fair debate, nobody can beat me. Nobody can beat you with this narrative that we have put together, that we verified, that we certified, that is 100% spot on. We rarely miss anything in details. We're strictly about the details in reality. God bless you, folks. Hugs for everybody. And thank you, everybody, for keeping the faith. Thank you, everybody, for making this stand for Earth and for the 8 million species. And thank you, everybody, for your civility, for being civilized and giving it a chance and realizing that we're not here for something to do. We're here because the world demands we exist. And we will get stronger now every day because we will fight the great fight. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, British Columbia, Canada time. One of the last few streams we're going to get. Please join it if you get a chance. Hugs for everybody.